A crash landing in the Arctic. The aurora borealis danced across the star-studded Alaskan sky, its ethereal green ribbons stretching from horizon to horizon. Jack Hawkins stood outside his isolated cabin, a steaming mug of coffee warming his hands against the biting cold. His breath frosted in the air as he gazed upward, lost in thought. At 42, Jack had thought he'd seen it all. 10 years in the Air Force, flying everything from F-22s to experimental craft, followed by a stint with a private aerospace firm. But 2 years ago, he'd walked away from it all, seeking solitude in the vast Alaskan wilderness. The quiet life suited him, or so he told himself on the long, dark winter nights. A flash of light caught his eye, brighter than any shooting star. It streaked across the sky, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. Jack's military instincts kicked in immediately. This was no meteor. Its trajectory was too controlled, too purposeful. The object disappeared behind a distant ridge, and moments later, a dull boom echoed across the landscape. Jack was moving before he'd even made a conscious decision. He dashed inside, grabbed his emergency kit and heavy parka, and fired up his rugged ATV. Whatever had just crashed might need help, and he was probably the only person for 100 miles who could provide it. The ATV's headlight cut through the darkness as Jack navigated the treacherous terrain. The crash site wasn't hard to find. A path of broken trees and scorched earth led straight to it. As he drew closer, the acrid smell of burning metal filled the air. Jack killed the engine and approached on foot, his flashlight beam revealing a scene of devastation. Twisted metal and strange, crystalline fragments were strewn across the snow. At the center of it all lay what could only be described as a spacecraft. It was sleek and organic in design, unlike anything manufactured on Earth. "Hello," Jack called out, his voice seeming small in the vast wilderness. "Anyone there? Do you need help?" A faint sound caught his attention, a soft moan, barely audible over the creaking of cooling metal. Jack scrambled over the wreckage, following the noise. He found a gap in the hull and squeezed through, heedless of the danger. The interior was a maze of unfamiliar technology, pulsing with dim, otherworldly light. Jack's flashlight beam swept the cabin until it fell upon a figure slumped in what appeared to be a pilot's seat. Jack's breath caught in his throat. The being before him was undeniably alien, yet hauntingly beautiful. Her skin was a pale lavender, with intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer and shift in the flickering light. Delicate antenna-like structures adorned her head where hair would be on a human. Her eyes, when they fluttered open, were large and luminous, with irises of swerving silver. "It's okay," Jack said softly, approaching slowly with his hands raised. "I'm here to help." The alien's eyes focused on him, filled with a mixture of fear and wonder. She tried to move but gasped in pain. Jack could see now that she was injured, a gash on her arm oozing a strange, pearlescent fluid. "Easy there," he soothed. "Let me take a look at that." To his surprise, the alien spoke. Her voice was melodic, almost musical, but the words were completely foreign to Jack. She gestured weakly at a panel on the wall, covered in symbols Jack couldn't begin to decipher. "I'm sorry," Jack said, shaking his head. "I don't understand." The alien's expression changed, concentrating hard. When she spoke again, the words were halting but recognizable English. "Danger, coming. Must, hide." Jack nodded, decision made in an instant. "All right, let's get you out of here. Can you walk?" With Jack's support, the alien managed to stand. She was tall, easily 7 feet, but moved with a grace that belied her size. They made their way slowly out of the wreckage and to Jack's waiting ATV. "I'm Jack," he said as he helped her onto the vehicle. "What's your name?" The alien considered for a moment, then made a series of musical tones that Jack knew he'd never be able to reproduce. Seeing his confusion, she simplified, "Zara, you. Call me Zara." As they sped back towards his cabin, Jack's mind raced. He'd just made first contact with an alien species. More than that, he was harboring a fugitive of some kind. Everything he thought he knew about the universe had just been upended. Zara clung to him, her body trembling from more than just the cold. Jack felt a surge of protectiveness. Whatever she was running from, whoever was after her, they'd have to go through him first. The cabin came into view, a warm light spilling from its windows. As Jack helped Zara inside, he knew his life would never be the same. The solitude he'd sought had just been shattered in the most spectacular way possible. But looking at the alien woman, at Zara, as she took in her new surroundings with wide-eyed wonder, Jack couldn't bring himself to regret it. "Welcome to Earth," he said with a smile. "Let's get you patched up." As Jack gathered medical supplies, Zara explored the cabin with cautious curiosity. Her movements were fluid, almost hypnotic, as she examined everyday objects as if they were priceless artifacts. "This is your home?" Zara asked, her English improving rapidly. Jack nodded. "For the past couple of years, yeah. It's not much, but it's peaceful." Zara's antenna twitched, and she cocked her head to one side. "Peaceful. Good. Need time. To heal. To plan." As Jack cleaned and bandaged her wound, Zara explained haltingly about her homeworld, a place called Lumina. She was a scientist, part of a resistance movement fighting against an oppressive regime. Her mission to Earth had been a desperate gamble, seeking allies in humanity. "But I was detected," Zara said, her luminous eyes clouding with worry. "Pursued, they will come." Jack's jaw set with determination. "Let them come. You're safe here, Zara, I promise." As the night wore on, Jack made Zara comfortable on his bed while he took the couch. Sleep, however, proved elusive for both of them. Jack's mind whirled with the implications of Zara's presence, while the alien woman stared out the window at the starry sky, lost in thoughts of home. In the quiet hours before dawn, Jack realized that his lonely exile had ended. He'd been given a purpose again, one that could change the fate of two worlds. As the first light of morning painted the Alaskan wilderness in soft hues, Jack Hawkins began to plan for a future he could never have imagined. The adventure had only just begun. Quantum bonds and cosmic secrets. As the Alaskan sun crept over the horizon, painting the snow-covered landscape in hues of pink and gold, Jack Hawkins stood at his cabin window, watching Zara sleep. The alien woman's lavender skin seemed to shimmer with an inner light, her chest rising and falling in a rhythm slightly faster than human norm. Jack marveled at how something so foreign could also seem so beautiful. A soft beeping from his sat phone broke the silence. Jack answered quickly, not wanting to wake his extraordinary guest. "Hawkins," he answered tersely. "Jack, it's Colonel Rees. We need to talk." Jack's blood ran cold. Marshal Rees had been his CO back in the Air Force, on a classified project that officially didn't exist. If he was calling now. "I'm guessing this isn't a social call," Jack said, stepping outside into the brisk morning air. "Satellite picked up an anomaly in your area last night. Trajectory and energy signature match nothing in our database. Jack, please tell me you don't know anything about this." Jack hesitated, weighing his options. Reeves was a good man, but he was still military. If word got out about Zara... "Marshal," Jack said carefully, "what if I told you that everything we suspected, everything we worked on in Project Stargazer, was real?" The line went silent for a long moment. "Jesus, Jack, you found something." "Not something, someone." Another pause. "I'll be there in 6 hours. Scrub the area, and Jack, watch your 6. We're not the only ones who noticed." The line went dead. Jack took a deep breath, his mind racing. He needed to secure the crash site, hide any evidence. But first, he went back inside to find Zara awake, her silver eyes regarding him curiously. "We have company coming," Jack explained. "A friend, I think, but we need to be careful." Zara nodded, her antennae twitching slightly. "Your world, not ready for mine." "That's putting it mildly," Jack chuckled. "How are you feeling?" In response, Zara stood, moving with a fluid grace that took Jack's breath away. She approached him, reaching out to touch his face gently. Jack felt a tingling sensation, like static electricity, but pleasant. "You risked much to help me," Zara said softly. Thank you." Their eyes met, and for a moment, Jack felt like he was falling into twin pools of liquid starlight. There was a connection between them, something beyond mere words or physical attraction. It was as if their very atoms recognized each other, resonating on a quantum level. The moment was broken by a distant rumble. Jack looked out the window to see a black helicopter approaching fast, way ahead of schedule. "That's not my friend," he said grimly. "We need to move. Now." Zara's expression hardened, all trace of vulnerability vanishing. From a hidden pocket in her strange, form-fitting suit, she produced a small device. It expanded in her hand, forming into something that looked unsettlingly like a weapon. "I will not be taken," she said, her musical voice edged with steel. Jack nodded, grabbing his go-bag and rifle. Together then. They burst out of the cabin just as the helicopter touched down. Men in black tactical gear poured out, weapons raised. Jack's military training kicked in, and he dropped to one knee, rifle braced against his shoulder. But it was Zara who acted first. The device in her hand pulsed, and a shimmering field of energy enveloped them both. The air crackled with ozone as bullets harmlessly dissipated against the shield. "Quantum barrier," Zara explained quickly. "Temporary. We must hurry." They ran for Jack's ATV, the shield flickering around them. As they sped away, Zara turned and fired her weapon. A blast of coherent light erupted, not towards their pursuers, but at Jack's cabin. The structure imploded, leaving nothing but a smoking crater. "I'm sorry," Zara said. "Contamination protocols." Jack nodded grimly, understanding the necessity. They raced through the forest, the sound of the helicopter growing distant, but their respite was short-lived. A low, thrumming noise filled the air, and the trees around them began to sway. "No," Zara breathed, her face pale. "They found me." A massive shape appeared in the sky above them, easily the size of a football field. It was similar in design to Zara's crashed ship, but darker, more ominous. A tractor beam lanced out, enveloping their ATV. "Zara," Jack yelled over the deafening hum. "Whatever happens, I'm with you." As they were lifted into the alien ship, Zara's hand found Jack's. In that moment, as the familiar world fell away beneath them, Jack realized that his fate was now inexorably linked with this enigmatic woman from the stars. The ATV settled onto the deck of a vast hangar. As the doors closed beneath them, sealing them inside the alien craft, Jack and Zara stood back to back, ready to face whatever came next. A door rised open, and a figure stepped out. It was humanoid, but taller than Zara, with skin the color of burnished copper. Its eyes were solid black, reflecting the hangar lights like polished obsidian. "Zara of Lumina," the being said, its voice a harmonic chorus. "You have led us on quite a chase." Zara raised her chin defiantly. "San-La, I should have known the hegemony would send its best butcher." San-La's attention turned to Jack. "And what is this?" "A native. How quaint. I didn't realize you developed a taste for primitive pets, Zara." Jack bristled, but held his tongue. He was out of his depth here, but he'd be damned if he'd show it. "He is under my protection," Zara said firmly. "By the ancient laws of hospitality, his life is bound to mine." San-La's expression shifted to one of amusement. "Very well. The human may live for now. But you, my dear Zara, have much to answer for. The tribunal awaits." As they were led deeper into the ship, Jack's mind raced. The hegemony, the tribunal. He was getting a crash course in galactic politics, and he had a feeling the stakes were higher than he could imagine. Zara walked with her head held high, every inch the regal scientist turned rebel. But her hand, still clasped in Jack's, trembled slightly. Whatever she was facing, she was afraid, and that, more than anything, steeled Jack's resolve. He might be a primitive in the eyes of these advanced beings, but he was also a trained soldier, a survivor, and now Zara's self-appointed protector. Somehow, he'd find a way to help her, to save her if necessary. As they entered a vast chamber, filled with holographic displays and beings of various alien races, Jack squared his shoulders. Humanity's first steps into a larger galaxy might not have been of his choosing, but he was determined to make them count. The adventure that had begun with a crash in the Alaskan wilderness was about to explode onto a cosmic stage. And Jack Hawkins, ex-Air Force pilot and reluctant hermit, was ready to show the universe what humans were made of. Little did he know, the greatest challenges and the greatest revelations were yet to come. Quantum entanglement of hearts and minds. The tribunal chamber hummed with an energy that made Jack's skin tingle. Holographic displays flickered around them, showing star systems and galactic sectors he'd never imagined. Aliens of various species watched from tiered seating, their attention focused on Zara and, by extension, Jack. Sanlar stood before a panel of judges, each more alien and imposing than the last. Esteemed members of the tribunal, he began, his harmonious voice echoing through the chamber. I present to you Zara of Lumina, renegade scientist and thief of the Quantum Codex. Murmurs rippled through the assembled crowd. Jack glanced at Zara, whose expression remained stoic, but he could feel the tension radiating from her. And what of the primitive? One judge asked, gesturing towards Jack with a tendril-like appendage. A native of the planet where we apprehended the fugitive, Sanlar replied dismissively. Irrelevant to these proceedings, but bound to Zara by their quaint laws of hospitality. Jack bristled at being called irrelevant, but held his tongue. He needed to understand more before he could act. Zara stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. I stand before you not as a thief, but as a liberator. The Quantum Codex is not a weapon to be hoarded by the hegemony, but a key to unlocking the fundamental nature of reality itself. It belongs to all sentient beings. The chamber erupted in chaos, various alien species shouting in languages Jack couldn't begin to comprehend. The lead judge, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, raised an appendage for silence. Zara of Lumina, you stand accused of crimes against the galactic order. The penalty is memory wipe and molecular dissociation. How do you plead? Jack's heart raced. Memory wipe, molecular dissociation. He couldn't let that happen to Zara. Without thinking, he stepped forward. If I may address the tribunal, he said, his voice surprisingly steady. The energy being turned its attention to Jack, its crystalline form pulsing with curiosity. The primitive wishes to speak. This is unprecedented. Proceed, Earthling. Jack took a deep breath. My name is Jack Hawkins, and I come from a world that, until yesterday, thought it was alone in the universe. In the span of a few hours, I've learned that not only is there intelligent life beyond Earth, but that it's divided, just like us, between those who seek power and those who fight for freedom. He gestured to Zara. This woman crashed on my planet, injured and alone. She could have treated me like the primitive you all seem to think I am. Instead, she showed me trust, shared knowledge freely. If that's the kind of person your hegemony considers a criminal, then maybe your galactic order needs to be challenged. The chamber fell silent, all eyes on Jack. He pressed on, drawing on every diplomatic and public speaking skill he'd learned in the military. On Earth we have a saying, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. I don't pretend to understand your politics or the full implications of this quantum codex, but I do know that progress doesn't come from hoarding knowledge. It comes from sharing it, from working together to unlock the mysteries of the universe. Zara looked at Jack with a mixture of awe and gratitude. She stepped closer to him, their shoulders touching. As she did, a strange sensation washed over Jack. The tingling he felt since entering the ship intensified, and suddenly he could feel Zara's thoughts, her emotions. Somehow, improbably, they had become quantumly entangled. Images flashed through Jack's mind. Zora's homeworld, a paradise of crystal spires and bioluminescent forests. The oppressive rule of the hegemony, stifling innovation and free thought. The quantum codex, a mathematical framework that could revolutionize everything from energy production to faster-than-light travel. Understanding flooded through him. Without realizing it, he began to speak again, but this time with the weight of Zora's knowledge behind his words. The quantum codex isn't just some theoretical construct, Jack said, his voice taking on an otherworldly resonance. It's a key to unlocking the very fabric of space-time. Imagine being able to fold space, to transmit information instantaneously across any distance, to tap into the zero-point energy field that permeates the universe. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Jack raised his hand, and to his astonishment, strands of pure energy began to coalesce between his fingers. This is the power that the hegemony fears, he continued, not because it's dangerous, but because it would render their control obsolete. No more scarcity, no more faster-than-light limitations. Every world, every species, free to explore and grow without artificial constraints. The judges conferred among themselves that alien features impossible for Jack to read. Finally, the lead judge spoke. This is most unusual. The human demonstrates knowledge he should not possess. And yet, his words carry the ring of truth, the crystalline being turned to San-La. Perhaps the hegemony's position requires reconsideration. San-La's face contorted with rage. This is absurd. You cannot listen to this primitive and unknown traitor. But his protests fell on deaf ears. The lead judge raised his appendages, and the chamber filled with a soft, pulsing light. Zora of Lumina and Jack Hawkins of Earth, the judge intoned. You have shown us a glimpse of a future we had not dared to imagine. The tribunal hereby suspends all charges, pending a full review of the quantum codex and its implications for galactic society. Relief washed over Jack, but it was short-lived. San-La, seeing his victory slipping away, pulled out a device that pulsed with dark energy. If I cannot have the codex, he snarled, then none shall. Time seemed to slow. Jack saw the attack coming, saw the dark energy building to a crescendo that would obliterate everything in the chamber. Without thinking, he reached out with his newfound connection to the quantum field. Energy surged through him, more power than he'd ever imagined possible. He threw up a barrier of pure quantum foam, absorbing the blast from San-La's weapon. The effort was immense, and Jack felt his consciousness starting to fade. The last thing he saw before blackness took in was Zora's face, her silver eyes wide with a mixture of concern and wonder. As the quantum entanglement between them pulsed one final time, a single thought passed between them. Together, we will reshape the stars themselves. Jack Hawkins, the ordinary human from Earth, had just taken his first steps into a larger, stranger, more wondrous universe than he'd ever dreamed possible. And somewhere, deep in the quantum fabric of reality, the future of two worlds, of an entire galaxy, shifted onto a new, uncharted course. Cosmic convergence and the quantum revolution. Jack's consciousness drifted through a kaleidoscope of quantum possibilities. Stars birthed and died, galaxies collided and merged, all in the span of heartbeats. When he finally opened his eyes, he found himself in a chamber that seemed to be made of living crystal, pulsing with soft bioluminescence. Zora sat beside him, her lavender skin glowing with an inner light. "Welcome back, Jack Hawkins of Earth," she said, her voice a melody that seemed to resonate with the very atoms of his being. "Where are we?" Jack asked, sitting up slowly. His body felt different somehow, lighter yet more substantial. "The heart of Lumina," Zora replied, gesturing to the window. Jack's breath caught in his throat. Outside, a city of impossible beauty stretched as far as the eye could see. Crystal spires reached into a sky painted with auroras, while anti-gravity vehicles zipped between them in graceful arcs. "But how?" Jack stammered. "The last thing I remember was the tribunal, San-La's attack." Zara's expression turned serious. You saved us all, Jack. The quantum barrier you created, it didn't just stop Sanlar's weapon. It opened a gateway through the fabric of space-time itself. We've been in stasis for 3 Earth years while your body adapted to the quantum flux. Jack's mind reeled. 3 years. His thoughts turned to Earth, to the life he'd left behind. As if reading his mind, Zara placed a comforting hand on his arm. Don't worry. Time flows differently here. On Earth, only 3 days have passed. Before Jack could respond, the crystal door arised open. A being of pure energy, vaguely humanoid in shape, floated into the room. Jack recognized it as the lead judge from the tribunal. Greetings, Jack Hawkins, the being said, its voice a chorus of harmonic frequencies. I am Zephyr, elder of the Luminian Collective. Your actions have set in motion a chain of events that will reshape the galaxy. Jack stood, surprised to find his body responding with a grace and strength he'd never possessed before. I'm not sure I understand. What's happening? Zephyr's form shimmered, projecting a holographic display of the Milky Way. The quantum codex that Zara liberated was more than just advanced science. It was the key to unlocking the true potential of sentient minds across the cosmos. The hologram zoomed in, showing planets lighting up with a soft glow, connected by threads of quantum energy. Your act of selflessness, using power you barely understood to save others, triggered a cascading awakening. Species across the galaxy are experiencing a quantum leap in consciousness and capability. Zara stepped forward, her eyes shining with excitement. The age of separation is ending, Jack. The artificial barriers between worlds, between dimensions even, are falling away. And you, a human from Earth, with a catalyst. Jack's head spun with the implications. But why me? I was just a pilot, living alone in Alaska. Zephyr's energy form pulsed with what Jack somehow knew was amusement. The universe has a poetry to it that transcends our understanding. You, Jack Hawkins, represent the best of humanity, compassion, courage, and an unquenchable spirit of exploration. You were the perfect bridge between worlds. A new hologram appeared, showing Earth. Jack saw familiar continents, but strange energy patterns swirled around the planet. Your world stands on the brink of a new era, Zephyr explained. The quantum awakening is beginning there too. They will need a guide, someone who understands both the old world and the new. Jack felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. You want me to go back? Zara took his hand, and Jack felt the now familiar surge of their quantum entanglement. We will go back together, she said. Earth is about to take its place in the galactic community. They'll need diplomats who can bridge the gap between human and alien perspectives. But the hegemony, Jack started, Sanlar and his followers. Zephyr's form rippled, are being contained. The quantum awakening has shifted the balance of power. Those who cling to old ideas of control and domination find their influence waning. A new coalition of free worlds is forming, with Lumina and Earth at its heart. Jack took a deep breath, looking out at the alien yet beautiful world before him. He thought of his cabin in Alaska, of the solitude he'd once craved. That life seemed a lifetime ago now. All right, he said, squeezing Zara's hand. Let's go save the world, again. Zara's smile was radiant. Not just the world, Jack, the galaxy. As they prepared to depart, Jack felt a surge of excitement he hadn't experienced since his first solo flight. Humanity was about to take its first steps into a larger universe, and he would be there to guide them. The crystal chamber dissolved around them, replaced by a shimmering quantum portal. Jack and Zara stepped through hand in hand, their forms blurring into pure energy. In a flash of light that outshone the sun, they materialized in the Oval Office of the White House. The President of the United States, along with a team of top scientists and military officials, stared in shock at the sudden appearance of a man they'd thought missing and an alien being of breathtaking beauty. Jack Hawkins, once a lone pilot in the Alaskan wilderness, now stood as humanity's ambassador to the stars. With Zara by his side, he prepared to usher in a new age of cosmic enlightenment. "Mr. President," Jack said, his voice resonating with newfound power and purpose, "we need to talk about humanity's future among the stars." The quantum revolution had begun, and Earth would never be the same. Nexus Earth, the quantum frontier. The Oval Office erupted into chaos. Secret Service agents drew their weapons, scientists babbled excitedly, and military brass barked orders into their comms. Through it all, Jack Hawkins stood calmly, his hand intertwined with Zara's, a faint aura of quantum energy shimmering around them both. "At ease, everyone," the president commanded, her voice cutting through the din. She fixed Jack with a penetrating stare. "I hope you have one hell of an explanation, Major Hawkins. You've been missing for 3 days, and now you appear out of thin air with an alien." Jack finished with a wry smile. "Mr. President, members of the cabinet, what I'm about to tell you will change everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe." Over the next hour, Jack and Zara laid out the incredible tale of first contact, galactic politics, and the quantum awakening that was about to sweep across Earth. The president listened intently, her expression a mix of wonder and concern. "This is a lot to process," she said finally. "How can we be sure this isn't some elaborate hoax or, worse, the prelude to an invasion?" Zara stepped forward, her luminous eyes scanning the room. "Your doubts are understandable, Madam President. Perhaps a demonstration is in order." With a graceful gesture, Zara caused the air in the center of the room to ripple and fold. A miniature galaxy blossomed into existence, stars and planets swirling in breathtaking detail. "This is a real-time projection of the Milky Way," Zara explained. "Observe." She zoomed in on Earth, and everyone gasped. The planet was surrounded by a web of glowing energy, pulsing with life. "The quantum awakening has already begun," Jack said. "In the coming days, people around the world will start to exhibit abilities, enhanced intelligence, telepathy, manipulation of energy and matter. It's going to cause panic unless we get ahead of it." The president's national security advisor leaned forward. "Are you saying we're about to have a planet full of superhumans? That's a recipe for chaos." Jack shook his head. "Not superhumans. Evolved humans. This isn't just about power, it's about consciousness. Empathy. Connection. The abilities are a side effect of our species taking the next step in cosmic awareness. We're here to help guide humanity through this transition," Zara added, "to prepare you for joining the galactic coalition of free worlds." The president stood, pacing the room as she processed this information. "All right, let's say I believe you. What's our next move?" Jack and Zara exchanged a glance. "We need to establish a global network of quantum nexus points," Jack explained. "Centers where people experiencing the awakening can come for guidance and training. And we need to do it fast." "Why the rush?" the Secretary of Defense asked. Zara's expression turned grave. "Because we're not the only ones aware of Earth's awakening. There are less benevolent forces in the galaxy who would seek to exploit or suppress humanity's emergence." The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of activity. Jack and Zara briefed world leaders, top scientists, and military commanders. Plans were drawn up for quantum nexus facilities on every continent, and as predicted, reports began flooding in from around the globe of people exhibiting extraordinary abilities. At the heart of it all was Nexus Prime, a massive facility being constructed at breakneck speed in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. It was here, 7 days after their appearance in the Oval Office, that Jack and Zara stood before a bank of cameras, preparing to address the world. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. Zara squeezed his hand, sending a pulse of reassurance through their quantum bond. "People of Earth," Jack began, his voice calm and clear. "My name is Jack Hawkins. 7 days ago, I was a former Air Force pilot living in Alaska. Today, I stand before you as a bridge between worlds, here to tell you that everything is about to change." He went on to explain, in broad strokes, about first contact, the galactic community, and the quantum awakening. As he spoke, holographic displays showed scenes from around the world. A child in Mumbai levitating toys with her mind. A group of students in Rio de Janeiro engaged in silent, telepathic conversation. A farmer in Kenya coaxing miraculous growth from his crops with a touch. This is not the end of humanity, Jack assured the billions watching. It's a new beginning. We stand on the brink of a new age of exploration, not just of outer space, but of inner space. The very fabric of reality is opening up to us. Zara stepped forward, her otherworldly beauty causing a collective gasp from the global audience. To those of you experiencing these changes, please know that you are not alone. Quantum Nexus centers are being established worldwide to help you understand and control your emerging abilities. And to those who have not yet felt the awakening, do not fear. This is a gradual process, one that will unfold over months and years. As they continued to speak, offering reassurance and hope, something extraordinary began to happen. People watching around the world reported a strange sensation, a feeling of connection transcending physical distance. In that moment, humanity got its first taste of global quantum entanglement. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout Nexus Prime. Jack and Zara exchanged a worried glance. "We have an incoming situation," a technician shouted. "Massive energy signature detected in low Earth orbit." On screens worldwide, the feed cut to a view of space above Earth. A massive ship, easily the size of a small moon, shimmered into existence. "It's the hegemony," Zara whispered, her face pale. "They're here." Jack squared his shoulders, facing the camera once more. "People of Earth, remain calm. This is the moment we've been preparing for. Together, we will face this challenge. Together, we will show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." As the alien ship loomed ever closer, Jack Hawkins, once an ordinary man, now the linchpin of humanity's cosmic destiny, prepared to lead his species into a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The quantum age had dawned, and its first test had arrived far sooner than anyone had expected. Quantum uprising, humanity's cosmic stand. The massive hegemony warship hung in low Earth orbit, a dark monolith against the blue-green sphere of humanity's home. Across the planet, billions watched their screens in a mixture of awe and terror. At Nexus Prime, alarms blared as systems tracked thousands of smaller craft deploying from the mothership. Jack Hawkins stood at the command center, Zara by his side. Holograms flickered around them, showing tactical readouts and live feeds from around the world. "They're targeting the quantum nexus points," Zara said, her voice tight with concern. "They're trying to suppress the awakening before it fully takes hold." Jack's jaw clenched. "Not if we have anything to say about it. Initiate Operation Cosmic Shield." Across the globe, at each quantum nexus, newly awakened humans stepped forward. They had been training for this moment, honing their newfound abilities under the guidance of Jack, Zara, and a cadre of instructors from the Galactic Coalition. In New York, a young artist named Maya closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. The air around her shimmered, and a dome of iridescent energy blossomed over the city. In Cairo, a former taxi driver named Amor raised his hands, and the pyramids of Giza resonated with ancient power, projecting a barrier that stretched for miles. Similar scenes played out in Tokyo, Rio de Janeiro, Sydney, and dozens of other locations. At Nexus Prime, Jack turned to the assembled world leaders on the view screens. "Ladies and gentlemen, the time for unity is now. Authorization to engage." Military forces worldwide scrambled into action. Fighter jets equipped with reverse-engineered alien tech launched to meet the incoming threat. But this was no conventional war. As hegemony dropships breached the atmosphere, they were met not just with missiles and bullets, but with concentrated bursts of quantum energy. In London's Trafalgar Square, a librarian named Eleanor faced down a squad of hegemony's shock troops. With a gesture, she opened micro-wormholes that swallowed their energy weapons. A thought later, and the alien soldiers found themselves teleported into holding cells halfway around the world. Jack's voice rang out over global communications channels. Remember your training. We're not just fighting with our bodies or our weapons, but with the very fabric of reality itself. Visualize, focus, and reshape the quantum field. Zara monitored the battle from Nexus Prime, her fingers dancing over holographic controls. Jack, we have a problem. The Hegemony flagship is powering up its main cannon. If that hits the planet... Jack nodded grimly. Then we take the fight to them. Zara, with me. Quantum jump in 3, 2, 1. In a flash of blue light, Jack and Zara materialized on the bridge of the Hegemony flagship. San-La, the copper-skinned alien who had once pursued Zara across the galaxy, spun to face them. You, he snarled, how dare you interfere with the natural order? Humanity was meant to be harvested, not elevated. Jack's eyes glowed with quantum energy. That's where you're wrong, San-La. Humanity's destiny is among the stars, not as your slaves or test subjects. What followed was a battle unlike any in Earth's history. San-La unleashed waves of dark energy, while Jack and Zara countered with blasts of quantum force. The ship's bridge became a swirling vortex of possibility, as reality itself bent and warped around them. Back on Earth, the tide was turning. Awakened humans, working in concert with conventional military forces, were pushing back the Hegemony invasion. In the skies over Brazil, a young pilot named Raul found he could link his mind directly with his fighter jet, becoming one with the machine. He danced through the air, outmaneuvering alien craft with impossible precision. In the streets of Shanghai, a chef named Maid discovered that she could manipulate molecular structures. With a wave of her hand, she transmuted Hegemony battle armor into harmless cotton. Across Africa, shamans and elders tapped into ancient wisdom newly energized by the quantum awakening, turning the very land against the invaders. On the Hegemony flagship, the battle reached its climax. San-La, realizing he was outmatched, made a desperate lunge for the ship's main control panel. If I can't have this planet, he roared, then no one will. Time seemed to slow. Jack saw San-La's finger descending towards the button that would trigger the ship's self-destruct sequence. In that moment, he felt his connection not just to Zara, but to every awakened human on Earth. Their collective will flowed through him, and he understood what needed to be done. Jack reached out, not with his hand, but with his mind. He grasped the very quantum strings that made up San-La's being and pulled. The alien's body unraveled, his consciousness dispersed into the quantum foam of the universe. Silence fell on the bridge. Zara looked at Jack in awe. What did you do? Jack's eyes returned to normal, and he smiled softly. I showed him the true nature of reality. He's not gone, just expanded. Maybe one day he'll pull himself back together with a new perspective. Alarms blared as the ship's systems, no longer under Hegemony control, began to fail. Jack turned to Zara. Time to go. But first... He closed his eyes, concentrating. The massive ship shuddered, and then began to change. Its dark, oppressive architecture softened, transformed by Jack's will and the collective energy of Earth's awakened billions. As Jack and Zara Quantum jumped back to Nexus Prime, the Hegemony flagship metamorphosed into a gleaming space station, Earth's first extraterrestrial embassy, hanging in orbit as a beacon of humanity's new place in the cosmic order. They materialized in the command center to cheers and applause. On screens worldwide, scenes of celebration erupted as the last of the Hegemony forces retreated or surrendered. The President of the United States stepped forward, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Major Hawkins, no, Ambassador Hawkins. On behalf of humanity, thank you. What happens now? Jack looked out the window at the Earth below, then up at the stars above. He took Zara's hand, feeling the pulse of quantum energy that connected them all. Now, he said, his voice filled with wonder and purpose, we take our place among the stars. The real journey is just beginning. As dawn broke over a changed Earth, humanity looked to the future with new eyes. The age of isolation was over. United by the quantum awakening, empowered by abilities once thought impossible, they stood ready to join the galactic community not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. And at the heart of it all stood Jack Hawkins, the ordinary man who had become extraordinary, and Zara, the alien who had found a home among humans. Together, they would guide humanity into a new era of cosmic exploration, discovery, and unity. The quantum age had truly begun, and the universe would never be the same. Cosmic harmony, the quantum symphony. 5 years had passed since Earth's quantum awakening and the defeat of the hegemony invasion. The planet had undergone a transformation beyond anything in recorded history. Gleaming cities of crystal and light stretched towards the stars, their architecture a blend of human ingenuity and alien aesthetics. Anti-gravity vehicles zipped between buildings, while teleportation hubs connected continents in the blink of an eye. At the heart of this new world stood the global quantum nexus, a massive structure that defied conventional physics. It served as both Earth's seat of government and its connection to the galactic community. Here, in a chamber that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, Jack Hawkins and Zara prepared to address the newly formed Cosmic Council. "Ready for this?" Jack asked, adjusting his shimmer suit, a garment that adapted to the wearer's thoughts and environment. Zara smiled, her lavender skin glowing with an inner light. "With you, always." They stepped onto a platform that hovered above the council floor. Representatives from 1,000 worlds turned their attention to the unlikely pair who had reshaped the galaxy. "Esteemed members of the Cosmic Council," Jack began, his voice resonating with quantum harmonics that allowed every being present to understand him perfectly. 5 years ago, Earth was a planet in isolation, unaware of the vast tapestry of life that filled the cosmos. Today, we stand as proud members of the galactic community, ready to usher in a new era of cooperation and discovery. Zara continued, "The quantum awakening that began on Earth has spread, sparking a renaissance across the galaxy. Old conflicts have given way to a shared purpose, unlocking the deeper mysteries of existence itself." Holographic displays sprang to life around the chamber, showcasing the advances of the past 5 years. Faster-than-light travel had become commonplace, with ships powered by zero-point energy folding space to cross vast distances in moments. Dyson swarms harnessed the power of suns, while planetary terraforming had turned barren worlds into lush paradises. But the greatest changes were more profound. The quantum awakening had elevated consciousness across species, fostering empathy and understanding that transcended physical differences. Former enemies now worked together, their unique perspectives combining to solve problems that had once seemed insurmountable. "Yet our greatest challenge lies ahead," Jack continued, his expression turning serious. "Our long-range quantum sensors have detected a disturbance at the edge of the known universe, a cosmic anomaly that defies explanation." The chamber filled with murmurs of concern. Zara raised her hand, and a new hologram appeared. A swirling vortex of energy, beautiful yet terrifying in its scale. "We call it the Omega Rift," Zara explained. "It appears to be a tear in the very fabric of space-time, growing larger by the day. If left unchecked, it could unravel reality as we know it." The council erupted in a cacophony of worried voices and frantic questions. Jack waited for the noise to subside before speaking again. "But there is hope," he said, his voice filled with determination. "Our scientists believe that the combined quantum potential of all awakened beings could be harnessed to seal the rift, but it will require something unprecedented, a galaxy-wide mind meld, focusing the collective will of trillions of sentient beings." Zara nodded. "We're calling it the Quantum Symphony. Every awakened being, from every world, joining their consciousness in perfect harmony, the ultimate test of our newfound unity." The council chamber buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The scale of what Jack and Zara proposed was staggering, but so were the stakes. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity across the galaxy. Quantum relays were established on every inhabited world, creating a network that would allow for instantaneous communication across vast distances. On Earth, preparations reached a fever pitch. The day of the Quantum Symphony arrived with a sense of breathless anticipation. Jack and Zara stood atop the global quantum nexus, surrounded by a group of Earth's most powerful awakened humans. Around the world, billions gathered in plazas, parks, and holy sites. Similar scenes played out on countless alien worlds. "Remember," Jack said, his voice carried to every corner of the galaxy, "this isn't about raw power. It's about harmony. About recognizing our connection to each other and to the cosmos itself. Let your consciousness expand. Feel the quantum threads that bind us all." Zara raised her hands, and a pulse of energy rippled outward. Let the symphony begin. What followed defied description. Trillions of minds reached out across the quantum field, their thoughts and emotions blending into a tapestry of unimaginable complexity. Jack felt his sense of self dissolving, merging with a greater whole that encompassed not just humanity, not just the awakened species, but the very essence of the universe itself. Through this cosmic connection, he could perceive the Omega Rift in all its terrifying glory. But he could also see the solution, a pattern of quantum vibrations that would mend the tear in reality. Guided by the collective will of a galaxy, Jack and Zara began to conduct the Quantum Symphony. Waves of energy pulsed outward, resonating with the fundamental frequencies of space-time itself. The rift shuddered, its edges beginning to knit together. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, the fate of all existence hung in the balance. Then, with a flash of light that outshone supernovas, the Omega Rift collapsed in on itself and vanished. A cheer rose up from Earth, echoed by countless worlds across the galaxy. As the mind meld gently dissolved, beings everywhere were left with a profound sense of connection, of having touched something greater than themselves. Jack opened his eyes to find Zara smiling at him, tears of joy streaming down her face. "We did it," she whispered. "No," Jack replied, taking her hand. "We all did it. Together." As the sun rose on a new day, humanity and their galactic neighbors faced the future with a sense of infinite possibility. The Quantum Symphony had not just saved reality, it had opened the door to a deeper understanding of existence itself. Jack Hawkins, the once lonely pilot from Alaska, now stood as a symbol of humanity's potential, with Zara by his side and a galaxy of awakened beings ready to explore new frontiers. He knew that the greatest adventures still lay ahead. The cosmos itself seemed to hum with anticipation, ready for the next movement in the grand symphony of existence. And humanity, once a solo instrument, now played a vital part in the universal orchestra.